The length of a rectangular lot is 6 feet less than 4 times its width. Its area is 216 square feet. Determine the length and width. So because the length is 6 feet less than 4 times the width, let's use a variable w to represent the width, this length here. And then because the length is 6 feet less than 4 times its width, we need an expression for 6 less than 4 times w. Well, 6 less than 4 times w is the expression 4w minus 6. Again, 4w is 4 times the width, and then minus 6 gives us 6 less. And the units are feet. And we're told the area, which is equal to length times width, is 216 square feet. Again, because the area of a rectangle is equal to length times width, we know in this case, 216, the area, must equal the length of the quantity 4w minus 6 times the width, which is w. And now let's clear the parentheses on the right by distributing w. This gives us the equation 216 equals 4w squared minus 6w. Let's set the equation equal to 0 by subtracting 216 on both sides, which gives us 0 equals 4w squared minus 6w minus 216. Remember, the first step in factoring is to factor out the greatest common factor. On the right, the greatest common factor is 2, giving us 0 equals 2 times the quantity 2w squared minus 3w minus 108. Now at this point, unfortunately, the trinomial 2w squared minus 3w minus 108 does not factor, and therefore to determine the values of w that make this trinomial or quadratic equal to 0, we will need to use the quadratic formula shown here below, where a is the coefficient of w squared, and therefore a is 2, b is the coefficient of w, which is negative 3, and c is the constant term of negative 108. Notice how by factoring out the greatest common factor of 2, we can use smaller values for a, b, and c than using this form of the quadratic equation. And now applying the quadratic formula, we have w instead of x equals, in the numerator we have negative b, which is negative with the opposite of negative 3, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is the square of negative 3, minus 4 times a times c, which is minus 4 times 2 times negative 108. And all this is divided by 2 times a, which is 2 times 2. And let's begin simplifying. We have w equals the opposite of negative 3 is positive 3. Then we have plus or minus the square root. The square of negative 3 is positive 9. And then we have minus 4 times 2 times negative 108 is equal to negative 864, giving us minus negative 864. And all this is divided by 2 times 2, which is 4. Subtracting a negative is equivalent to adding a positive, and therefore this simplifies to 9 plus 864, which is equal to 873, which gives us w equals the quantity 3 plus or minus the square root of 873, all divided by 4. At this point, because we're asked to round to the nearest tenth, we could go straight to the calculator, but let's go ahead and simplify the square root of 873. 873 is equal to 9 times 97, and because 9 is a perfect square, the square root of 873 is equal to the square root of 9 times 97, and because the square root of 9 is equal to 3, this simplifies to 3 square root 97. So again, it's not required because we're asked to round to the nearest tenth, but if we did want to simplify this, we would have w equals 3 plus or minus 3 square root 97, all divided by 4. And now let's go to the calculator and get a decimal approximation for the two solutions. To evaluate this correctly, we need parentheses around the numerator. So we have open parenthesis, and then 3 plus 3 square root 97. To get out from under the square root, we press the right arrow, close parenthesis, and then divided by 4. Running to the nearest tenth, we have approximately 8.1. Or We now need to change the sum in the numerator to a difference. We can press second enter to bring up the previous expression and then just change the addition sign to a subtraction sign. Which gives us approximately negative 6.6. Well, we know W is a length and it can't be negative, and therefore we can exclude this solution. And now we know the width is approximately 8.1 feet. So again, we know W is approximately 8.1 feet. Now to find the length, we need to determine the value of the expression 4W minus 6 when W is approximately 8.1, which gives us 4 times 8.1 minus 6, which is equal to 26.4. And of course, this is in feet. So now we know the width is approximately 8.1 feet. And the length is approximately 26.4 feet. Before we go, let's verify a rectangle with these dimensions would have an area of approximately 216 square feet. Remember, area is equal to length times width, and therefore the area is going to be 26.4 times 8.1, which we can see is approximately 216 square feet. Just remember, we did round these values to the nearest tenth, which is the reason why we do have an error when determining the area using these dimensions. I hope you found this helpful.